What is up, YouTube? I'm Gout74 here, bringing you guys week 6 of the PCP. This week we are taking on Chris Doom Pete Singles, whatever you want to call him, coach of the 2Sydney 2Thundurus or Sydney Thunderous 2. We are going into this game with a 5-0 record, while my opponent is going into this game with a 3-2 record. Now, before I begin and get into anything, I would like to say happy birthday to my opponent, Chris. His birthday is on the Wednesday before this goes up, so I hope you had a great birthday yesterday, man. I hope it went well. Secondly, before we get into anything else, I want to mention that we did do a redraft, as I mentioned on my Twitter and in the end of last video. We have a new team based on the one we saw last week. It's different. We switched from Galadex to National Dex is why we did that. We have Megas in this, which is pretty cool. I have Mega Sceptile and a few other Mons I have been comfortable with, like Zeraora I have on the team. It should be on screen now. If it's not on screen now, it will be on screen when I break down my opponent's team. And speaking of my opponent's team, everybody's all hyping up about Landorus T coming back. My opponent just so happens to have drafted Landorus Therian, so we have to figure a way out to beat Landorus Therian this week, so that ought to be fun. And lastly, I'm not going to be revealing all of my sets throughout the team builders throughout the rest of the season. A, because my opponents could be potential playoff opponents, and I don't want to reveal my hand if I don't need to. And B, it's just a little bit less work for me, let's be real. So that's why you might see some stuff like not applicable or some random note in the slide that I don't want to reveal, just to let you know that's the reasoning why. But on to the matchup. Matchup is kind of ass, to be honest. It's not completely unbearable. There are ways we can beat him, but there are also ways a lot of different ways we can lose the battle. So I definitely have to figure out what his win con is going to be in order to try and counter that and try and win that way. Again, it's possible, but it's not that great. But you guys want to know that because you don't know the team, and we're going to go and break down his team now. We are going to jump into it now. My opponent has a team consisting of Mega Manectric, Landorus Therian, Melmetal, Serperior, Komodo, Chandelure, Aromatisse, Gloria Mr. Mime, Quagsire, Skuntank, and Shuckle. Now I expect my opponent to bring consist of Mega Manectric, Landorus T, Melmetal, Komodo, Chandelure, and Shuckle. New mons he has are only the Galarian Mr. Mime and the Melmetal. Notes I wrote down quickly is that Mega Manectric and Lando T, that Intimidate core, is very annoying for my team to deal with because Lando T is pretty bulky in order to take hits, and he also has some nice bulky offense in Melmetal and Komodo, even Superior too, that is able to take advantage of my attack being lowered, so I do have to be careful of that, and it's going to be kind of hard to break down. Melmetal is an interesting pick for my opponent's part because Melmetal has a really good matchup and sort of a really bad matchup at the same time. All of my Pokemon sort of deal with it, while all my Pokemon don't really like to deal with it either. It's a really confusing matchup for Melmetal, but I still think it would be worth my opponent to bring. And that's basically the big annoyances of his team. Also, he's got a Shuckle. I already fought Shuckle one time this season, and that was really annoying. I wouldn't be shocked if he tried to bring that again, because webs are good for like Mega Sceptile and Zeraora on my side. As you see, my team is a little bit different because, again, redraft. But that's basically all around for his team. I don't expect Superior because I have so many good Superior answers like Ferrothorn and Salazzle right there. And speaking of those two, Salazzle looks really good in this matchup, and my double Grass Core and Mega Sceptile and Ferrothorn are really good against most of his team. And I'm going to try and sort of win that way, just through Salazzle and my double Grass. But we'll see how this battle goes. But the team I am going to be rocking out with this week consists of Salazzle, Ferrothorn, Mega Sceptile, Conkeldurr, Mandibuzz, and Donphan. Looking at my opponent's team, the first thing that I threw on the team, openly admitting, was the Salazzle. Salazzle looks really good against my opponent overall. I'm not going to tell you guys the moves. It is a pretty standard Salazzle overall. I was rocking out with the boots as well, but there are some nice little tech options that Salazzle has that I could have been running on this set, and I do not want to reveal it. But Salazzle was really good. It made sure that Superior never got too out of hand, and his team is a little bit fire weak, so I thought Fire Stab would be really nice. He does have a few switches like Komodo and Chandelure, but like outside of that, nothing really appreciates a flamethrower from Salazzle, especially if it's like Specs. Quagsire would not appreciate that whatsoever. And again, just really nice overall for his team, and just having the nice speed control because the only thing that outspeeds this is Mega Manectric, and I could deal with that in other ways. And Mega Manectric cannot switch into Salazzle anyway, especially if I get like Hazards up or whatever. So I thought Salazzle would be really good in this matchup. He also has a Fairy type, so Salazzle beats that as well. That's going to be my first mon on the team. The next one's going to be Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn was max but def holding the leftovers. I will tell you guys the set. I apologize to Aquarius. I did not use their Ferrothorn set. I didn't really like that. That was the one set team for me, and I was thinking about bringing it, but I still took some things off of their team. But Ferrothorn was definitely not one of them. Bulldoze was definitely not happening because Superior with the speed boost, oh god no. And like Leaf Storm HP Fire, that runs through my team. I was not having that happen. But this made sure that Landorus never got a sub up against me. Rocks are really good against my opponent's team. Lead sheet gives me recovery. He doesn't really have a good lead sheet switching outside of Serp, and I can at least Iron Head that down a bit. And Serp can't really touch me unless he gets a few boosts up. And again, I have Salazzle to revenge that if I need it. It's also a really, really good switch into a lot of his mons as well. As you can just go down the list from earlier, you can see a lot of his team doesn't appreciate either grass or steel moves. And that's why I decided to bring Ferrothorn in the end. Next up, we have Mega Sceptile. Sceptile, who's holding the Sceptile Light, obviously. I'll let you guys know I had Energy Ball, Dragon Pulse, Earthquake, and Hidden Power. I don't mind telling you guys this set just because there was so many different Mega Sceptile sets I could have brought this game. I had 4 different sets by the end of building, and I just wasn't sure what to throw on. This just so happened to be the set I threw on, and I have so many options for next game, I'm not really too scared of it anyway. But that was basically what I had ran on this team. Again, speed control is really nice. The coverage is good. Earthquake hits his team pretty hard. And yeah, Energy Ball, just grass coverage is just nice as well. And that's kind of it for the Mega Sceptile. There's not much. It's just supposed to here to kind of clean up his team, because it just does a really good job of that, because 145 special attack is really nice. That's basically the Mega Sceptile. Fourth up, we have Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr had the Assault Vest with a lot of EVs. This was a whack EV investment. I'm not going to go over it, but it had the moves Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Ice Punch, and Knock Off. I forgoed Poison Jab just because if I was able to knock off Aromatiz's item, that would still be a win in the end. And Aromatiz also doesn't really appreciate an Ice Punch if it's either offensive or just max HP. It still doesn't like it, so that's why I decided to drop Poison Jab in the end. But those were the only 5 moves I was really looking at, and then everything else was just there. Ice Punch, that's a Lando team in the field. You gotta bring Ice Punch on something. Fighting coverage is really good against my opponent's team. Knockoff is very good and spammable against them as well. Mega Manectric is the only thing that doesn't lose an item, and Mega Manectric doesn't really deal with Conkeldurr too well. And so yeah, again, Conkeldurr really good at just kind of breaking things and taking hits because of the Assault Vest. It's a really good mana, and hopefully it does well this week. Fifth up, we have Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is also rocking the boots, because what other item do I ever run on this damn thing? Foul Play, Toxic, Defog, and Roost with a lot of fat. I'm not saying where the fat went, because it could have been both defensive or especially defensive. Not going to say which. But Mandibuzz was really good. Foul Play is really good because he's got a lot of physical attackers like the Lando, like the Melmetal. Even Komodo to an extent don't like Foul Play, especially if they're setting up. Toxic just to make sure things don't get too out of hand. Defog if I needed to get rid of webs or rocks for whatever reason, and Roost for recovery. It's a standard Mandibuzz as always, but Mandibuzz is so reliable, especially this season with this team. Mandibuzz just fits it so well, and that's why I like it on this team. And then finally we have Donphan. Donphan is a mon I have used in the past before. This is a more of an offensive Donphan. It has Earthquake, Play Rough, Seed Bomb, and Ice Shard, which is very good coverage for my opponent's team. Again, my opponent's a little bit weak to fire, and my opponent's a little bit weak to ground. And with Ice Shard hitting Lando T quad effective, that's really nice. And again, I was a little bit more offensive just so I could hit things a bit harder. His defensive wall that likes to take hits from Donphan doesn't really exist. And again, Ice Shard is a great way to revenge Lando. And that's basically it for the Donphan. That's kind of it for the team. I could reveal a little bit more, but I decided I'm just going to keep it off. And if my opponent knows, it's a big deal. But just in case I face him again in playoffs, this is the reason why I did that. We're going to head over to Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we are here on Pokemon Showdown, and my opponent did not bring the Melmetal or the Komodo, but did bring the Serperior. So I'm a little bit shocked about that, considering I have really good answers for Serperior, but we're about to see how this goes down. For lead, I feel like Mega Sceptile is not that great in this matchup, so I decided I'm just going to lead up with that and get some damage off. If something is Scarf, I'll find out. And I should be outspeeding the Chandelure anyway, so if he does have HP Ice, I'll get a big Earthquake off, which will do about like 70-ish%. However, I'm slower than Chandelure, and I found out after the battle that I did my EVs wrong. So turn 1, I actually don't learn too much. I learned that this is Scarfed into HP Ice, so that gives me a free knockoff with Conkeldurr, but I do lose my Mega Sceptile, so that's kind of unfortunate. Serperior comes in and takes a load, so that's actually more of an offensive Serperior, as he's going to go for Leaf Storm and miss, and that sort of sucks. I am Assault Vest, so it wouldn't do too much, but the damage will sort of come back later, if you guys will see, as I just knock out Serperior with Ice Punch. Mr. Mime comes in. I know Conk is still really good in this matchup, so I'm going to actually go on the Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn at this point is really only here just for Mr. Mime as well as to get hazards up, so that's what I'm going to do. I know Mr. Mime actually gets hit in power as it busted out here, and it only does like 40%. But in prep, I thought that was really cool. That's one of the few mons in Galar that actually gets hit in power. So that's pretty interesting to note. I'm going to force him to spin if he has it, which he actually does have to spin. So I can get a free Iron Head off and just do so much damage to this thing. as I just end up killing it in the end. So that's definitely not Eviolite, or if it is, that's just very weak. I don't think that's Eviolite. But basically, Ferrothorn's really done his job here. I'm just going to throw up rocks just in case he does something else, which he actually goes for Trick. And that's really good for me because now I get my rocks up. And considering he had the spin on Mr. Mime, I don't think he's got Defog on the Lando. So rocks are basically here to stay. Now I can go at the Conk. Conk again is AV, and I know this thing isn't like Specs or anything. So I can just hit this thing with a knockoff. This is actually a sub-trick set. So this is actually a really cool Chandelure set. As he just fires off a Shadow Ball, he actually doesn't have a fire move to hit Ferrothorn, but I don't have anything to hit it back, so I would lose that battle anyway. I'm just going to keep spamming knockoff, because if he's going to come into a Manectric, he's going to force to take rocks and a knockoff, as he just stays in, and I'm able to nuke this Chandelure with a knockoff, and that's really good, because Chandelure is one of the biggest threats to my team, and that being gone is nice. Here he goes out in the Shuckle, and this is fine with me, because I know the Shuckle is going to try and put up hazards against me. And that's fine because webs don't really hurt my team except for Salazzle, and rocks only hurt Mandibuzz and Salazzle as well. But they both have the boots, so hazards they don't care about hazards, and nor do my other mons. So this is just fine with me. I basically just killed off Shuckle for free, which is really nice. And the cool thing about Drain Punch is I'm actually back in range of living a hit from Mega Manectric, which is also really cool. But I do not want to let this Lando T set up. Of course, Lando T's hit the field finally, so I'm going to go for Ice Punch and not let him set up, but he actually goes for Fly. And that's fine. Ferrothorn is not doing much. So I'm just going to Ferrothorn and sack it. And if he's gonna hit me, so he's gonna take some Iron Barb's recoil damage. As Fly's gonna do a solid 41%. So Lando T is hitting pretty hard. Excuse me. Now I'm gonna go for Power Whip just so he doesn't set up a sub as he goes for Swords Dance. So that's looking a little bit scary. But because I hit that Power Whip, I have Ice Shard on my Donphan, and Ice Shard should be able to knock out the Lando from here. As Ferrothorn goes down to the Earthquake, my double Grass Core is down, but Donphan can just come in, click Ice Shard, and just Earthquake the Manectric. As Ice Shard comes out, it actually is a Yachi Berry Lando, but he does go down unfortunately. That probably was a roll, but in endgame here, I beat this Manectric every time. But the thing I had in my mind was that if Lando would not have died there, he would have killed me off most likely, and then Mach Punch Conk would have just finished him off. He couldn't switch out because of rocks, because Ice Shard was definitely putting him into rock range. So I don't think it really mattered too much that I got that roll, but, you know, it happens. And we're just going to nuke this Mega Manectric with an Earthquake. And your Northside Noiverns are going to win 4-0 against Chris, and we're going to move up to 6-0. So GG, Chris. That was definitely one of the quickest battles I've had in recent memory, but that's fine. Having a quick battle every now and then is really nice for me because most of my battles are a little bit longer. It was a pretty solid game overall. The only hacks I could really think about was the Leaf Storm on the Conkeldurr, which, again, I apologize, but that is how Pokemon is, and that's how the game works sometimes. I want to mention again, happy birthday, Chris. It was his birthday yesterday. I said that at the beginning. I'll say it again. Happy birthday, man. But I'm going to reiterate, we are going to move up to 6-0 now, which means a few things. One, we can't go negative for the season because there's 10 games and we only have 4 left. B, we officially clinched the playoffs because we're 6-0. And C, if we win like 2 or 3 more games, probably 2, I get a top 2 spot, meaning I get a bye week round 1, which is what I'm going for at this point. I really don't want to be playing in a wildcard week if I can manage to stay above everybody else. So that's pretty good about being 6-0, but I will give you guys a hint for next week, and it's going to be pretty important. We face off against Brett, coach of the Philadelphia Swirlixirs, and he is 5-1. He is the last person in our division we have not fought yet. And the cool thing about Brett is that Brett is the only person that is in all 3 leagues I'm in right now. He's in the APM, he's in the PTL, and he's in this league. So I'm excited to face him. I've actually never fought him before. And we need to win if we want to stay at number 1. If we lose, we could just drop down to number 2 like that. But if we win, again, it could be number 1. That is basically going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like a Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.